first time in 41 or 42 years, the CONUL strategy. Thank you. Cue. Sorry, Sandra, I did promise I'd cue you and I didn't. I got carried away with my own rhetoric. Dr. Sandra Collins, Director of the National Library of Ireland and member of the CONUL Board, is now going to facilitate the Directors' Forum, which is going to require a little bit of musical chairs, so bear with us. Philip, that's your cue as well.
So thanks very much, everyone. I thought that was a fabulous session with the strategy. It's great to see the expertise and the enthusiasm behind that piece of work. But what we wanted to do was have a directors forum and ask the directors of CONUL and the University and National and Research Libraries to offer you this chance to have discussion, questions, answers, and really dig maybe deeper into the big issues facing the libraries in Ireland, and particularly with the strategy, a focus on the strategy as well. So I'm the lucky person who got to chair the session, Sandra Collins. Do you want to go down the row and just everybody say your name and what library you're a director of?
Okay, for those with very short memories. Chris Pressler, University Librarian, Dublin City University.
Helen Shenton, I'm a Librarian and College Archivist at Trinity College Dublin.
John Cox, University Librarian, National University of Ireland, Galway.
And I'm John Howard, the University Librarian at University College Dublin.
Colin Macaulay, University Librarian, Maynooth University.
Siobhan Fitzpatrick, Royal Irish Academy Librarian. Could I just say, before the others introduce themselves, on behalf of the Director of the University Library at Limerick, Governor O'Riordan, Janet Peden from University of Ulster, Elizabeth Traynor, Queen's, and Colette McKenna of Cork, all of whom for various reasons couldn't be here and sent their apologies, but they would like to have participated.
I'm Kate Kelly, I'm Director of Library Services at RCSI, Royal College of Surgeons in Ireland.
And I'm Philip Coyne, Head of Library Services at DIT.
That's a fabulous cast. So I'm Sandra Collins, I'm the newest member, I think, and the National Librarian, National Library of Ireland. And Siobhan, I would call out as well as the chair of CONUL here, CONUL Directors. Okay, so can we take this time to bring out the big questions for the directors?
Hi, my name is Peter Dudley. I'm from Dublin City University. I work in kind of public services, frontline services in the library. And first of all, I'd just like to congratulate you on producing such an accessible and provocative strategy. It's fascinating reading it. And I was particularly drawn to the section on the home of staff development and shared practice. And I noticed that one of the actions is to review the structure and membership of existing CONUL special interest groups and committees. And in that vein, I was just going to propose that maybe we think about a new group, which is not currently in existence as far as I can tell, on frontline services and space especially. It's an issue that's a huge hot topic over the last 5-10 years. We've heard a lot about it at this conference. We've new approaches for studying it in terms of ethnographic research. And we have an informal network around the country already of staff who work on these issues. We tend to liaise via informal networks, various email lists. But we're all keen to have a more formal structure to discuss these issues. And I'd just like to put that out there as a proposal that in the review we keep that in mind, that something to do with frontline services, professional development and space is given its own platform. And I'd also like to volunteer to help it.
That's the best way to raise a suggestion. Peter, thanks. I think that's really important. It came through so clear in the conference, and we had spoken about it yesterday. I know Kate wants to say something.
I'm very glad you raised that question, Peter, because we did identify that as a gap potentially in the strategy and in the interest. And I guess, as we're at pains to say, this is about communication. This is not CONUL up here, it's CONUL all around the room. So I think the strength of that coming from the floor is actually, you can see from the response that would be something we'd be very open to. And I think the suggestion that it comes as part of the review of the subcommittee structure is well made. So I think we'll definitely take that on board. And if you have energy for that, good, great, thank you.
Just in addition to that, Peter, thanks for the question. By the way, it wasn't planted. We're intending to contact chairs of groups and committees and the members of those groups and committees over the course of the 16-17 academic session. So there's no rush in terms of, if you like, changing groups and committees. We're really, really keen. A lot of them are, a lot of you are doing incredibly good work in those special interest groups, I guess they are, and we're very keen to maintain the momentum and the energy in those groups. So we're going to be going through a listening process, I guess, from the SIG's perspective before we make any decisions. And I proposed to the board yesterday that we'll be coming with a report towards the end of the final term of 17, so June, early summer 17. So we've got a good year to have a discussion with you about not just what we're currently doing, but as Peter suggested, what we might want to do as well in the future.
Thanks, Peter.
Good morning, Catherine Smith from RCSI. Congratulations to the directors and particularly to colleagues who are undertaking work as part of the Strategic Implementation Group. I have two questions. The first is, in terms of the current membership of CONUL, has there been discussion about broadening membership to bring in, I suppose, research libraries that aren't as large maybe as the current members, and there might be interest from other institutions that have a specific research focus? And then my second question is, has there been any discussion around where CONUL sits within the Irish library ecosystem? So, Ciara was chatting there about how we relate internationally, but how does CONUL relate to LAI? How does it relate to the IUA Librarians group? So there are other factions nationally, and I'm very conscious we're a small cohort of staff, so it's the same faces you see in these different venues. So if CONUL is reacting and reflecting on a policy document that comes out, LAI is probably doing the same, IUA Librarians Group might be doing the same. So if we're talking about kind of reducing duplicate inputs, how has that been reflected on?
Okay, another really good question, I think, and coming new to this community as well, you may call it small, but it's incredibly vibrant. Just really the energy in this room and across the community in Ireland, I found really astounding. I think Cathal was going to cover first on membership, and then maybe we see who would want to tackle. Okay, Cathal, if you want to.
Well, just it is a good question, Catherine, and I guess a sign of what I always say in Maynooth, we get so many visitors to Maynooth and so on, so it's a sign you're doing something right. People want to come and see what you're doing. It's a sign we're doing something right. A number of institutions are interested in joining CONUL and a number of organisations. And what we're saying at the moment really is it's just about sequencing. So we very much are open to that idea, but we're at a particular stage now in our development where we need to consider that. So one of the key issues, and those of you who have the pleasure of dealing with me in my capacity of treasurer, those of you who have the pleasure, as I said, of dealing with me in my capacity of treasurer will know that even our status at the moment as an organisation needs to be addressed for practical reasons around invoice clearance and so on for some institutions. So we're actually in the middle of that at the moment, working with a lawyer as to what our options are and what best suits our needs. So there are several things we want in terms of we want it to be as least red tape possible and all the rest of it, low cost and so on. So once we determine that, then I guess we'll have a clearer sense of what we'll be expecting of potential new members if they were to join. So that's the process we're taking. We are in touch with a couple of potential members, and we've told them that we're going through this process around our governance arrangement at the moment, and when that's resolved as part of the strategy process, we'll be in a position to come back to them, and that's underway at the moment. So I'd hope that by the end of the year we'd have clarity on that.
Thanks, Cathal. And Helen, you want to?
Shall I make a comment about the other Irish organisations? So that was part of the
the away day that we did to start off with, was to say what is in Ireland, and then again coming back to what is it that only CONUL can do, what is the unique element. And so for something like IUA, so the Irish Universities Association Libraries Group, is also looking at its strategy. So we're seeing, again, what is it that only IUALG can do? And as a newcomer, I have to say, I've been so impressed with IRL, the Irish Research Electronic Library. To my shame, I didn't know about it before, but that actually, as a role model of collaboration, is fantastic and works extremely well. And again, one of my mantras is where are there good examples that we can harness? So IUALG is having a look at its strategic direction. Obviously, that's a very different body because it's part of the Irish Universities Association. It's only in the south. And the other one then you mentioned was the Library Association of Ireland. Now that's a membership organisation, which we have the president at, which is a different model. Is that more for the membership and so on? So they're all in the mix.
I thought since we were lucky enough to have the president of LAI on the table, we could do that one directly.
I can't pass up that opportunity. Is this working? Yes. I am the current president of the Library Association, and while I'm here, you'll notice on your tables there are brochures about associateship and fellowship. I brought those down. I'm not taking them home, so please take them away. That's the end of that plug. We are, Catherine, you're dead right. We are a small country, and there is a small number of people who work in libraries. But that I think it strengthens what we do. It doesn't dilute what we do. Looking around the room, there's a lot of people here I know through the Library Association who are active in the Library Association. And I think what we do in the Library Association, what we do in IUALG, what we do in CONUL, we're all doing the same things, and that helps us to deliver these position papers, these policies, these strategies. And it already happened on copyright, for example. There's the Copyright and Regulatory Affairs, RASC, subcommittee of CONUL. And the Library Association also has a small group who look after copyright, and they work together. And the papers, the government departments must recognise that the papers they read and see are similar because they've been worked on together, but then they are badged up differently. And I think we all have different agendas. The Library Association has a different agenda to CONUL, and CONUL is different to IUALG. But at the end of the day, we're all working towards the same end, and I think we can all support each other through that.
Catherine, are you happy? Okay. Oh, sorry, John.
Yeah, if
sorry.
I could just add a little perspective. I think that, when I arrived in Ireland some 7 years ago, when staff in UCD would refer to CONUL, they were referring to just us. It was only identified with the board of directors. And I think as we've progressed over the past several years, we've been very cognizant that that's really not appropriate. CONUL is really all of us here. The directors may be the representatives that meet on the board, but it is the membership. I think what we've been going through really is a process of maturation as an organization. The transition of the IUALG to the CONUL conference, I think, is an important element, and you should see that as part of this maturation process. The emergence of the strategic plan with some very distinct and achievable objectives is another sign of that maturation. And as Cathal was saying with regard to membership, that's a process that needs to mature as well. The nature of the organization as a body that has financial transactions and so forth, that needs to mature as well. But I think the important thing with this strategy is that it's a sign that we're on a clear pathway to becoming a mature organization, and I think the success of these conferences is a very good sign of that as well.
Yeah. And I think one of the pillars of the strategy of finding our voice and using it for good, I guess having more than one voice doesn't take from it either. Yeah. It's a good question, Catherine. Was there another question? Oh, hi, Catherine. Could you drop the mic over to Carmel? Thanks.
Hello, Carmel O'Sullivan from UCD Library, and also a member of the implementation group. Last year we had the first CONUL conference, and here we are this year. It's great, we've launched the strategy, which has been a great achievement. Next year when we come back, I'd like to ask each of the directors on the podium, what one thing would you like to see we have achieved in the strategy this time next year?
Oh, that's a really good, hard question. Carmel, I think as well when you say it, we should probably charge ourselves to report on progress against the strategy at the conference next year as well. I guess everybody would want that. So how about you get one sentence and not 10 sentences squeezed into a single one. A quick answer, your number one thing. Chris.
Do you want to start at the other end?
Oh, all right. Philip,
I
sorry.
wouldn't want to overly influence anyone.
Okay, or jump in with the enthusiasm. Please, Siobhan.
The one thing that I'd really like to see would be a very robust communication system between all the participants in CONUL, between the groups, the sections, the committees, the board, the SIG, and so on. We've a lot of different activities going on. We're multi-layered and so on, but we want to kind of flatten the communications as much as possible, so that it's very open, transparent, and that we're all, if we're not all the time singing from the one hymn sheet, that we all know what we're saying. I think that's really important.
Kate?
Can I say mine would be, echoing Siobhan there, it would be the review of the subcommittee structure and getting that sorted to everyone's satisfaction, because that's the perennial that keeps coming back. The communication is the perennial. The other thing I think I would pick would be the advocacy role, and actually being seen to advocate on, if it's even just one issue over the year that we get a hit on, I would be happy with that.
Should I? We're working this way around, okay. I'll be bold and have two achievements. One, I've seen the implementation plan, so I personally am tasked with access, improving access to our collections and our libraries. So that's on me, and there's a date there, so I know what my prime target is. Secondly, this is our second conference. Next year will be our third conference, and we've talked about ambition and aspiration, which is what this document is. I think it'd be really good to come back to you again, sit up here again next year and tell you what we have achieved.
Carl?
Okay, thank you. Well, I'll take two as well, if that's okay, because the things that strike me, I guess, from today is
ignore the rules.
Yesterday, I know. What the rebels. The whole issue, I guess, of collaboration and tangible collaboration around collections. I'd like to see some progress. I feel a little bit like, and I know it's one of the areas that maybe Kate was referring to, and possibly Siobhan. I mean, so we've had some wonderful work over the years ourselves about collaborative stores. There's been a lot of effort put into it. We've had our keynotes today and yesterday tell us how important it is, and we have it in our strategy. So I'd like to think that this time next year we're talking about some steps we've taken in that direction that are quite tangible, and we're moving past that very important stage, but where we've been for a while. And on a similar note, I think the whole area of open access, I happen to have been at a few meetings and so on this week, where I think there's a real desire from our colleagues, a real need from institutions, whether they realise it or not, for this issue to be addressed. And I think there's a real opportunity for CONUL, perhaps again in relation to what Kate was saying in advocacy, for that maybe to be the issue where we could start making some noise. There's been some serious statements lately coming from the EU and the Dutch presidency and so on around this, and it seems to me there's an opportunity there, and if we don't take the opportunity, someone else might, so that'll be another risk I'd see if we don't do something around that.
Brilliant. John?
But I think, all of us could say something different as individual directors, which doesn't mean that we don't have a sort of unity in thinking about things. But one of the themes that is cropping up at this is around our collections and access to them. We're here socially and networking together, but access to our collections is not effectively networked together. So what Owen McCartney was referring to earlier today, the dream of a union catalog, I think would be a very good and achievable objective. It would also have the ability to put in place not just a union catalog, but potentially a platform around which services that promote cooperation and collaboration could be built. So tangibly, I think that could be a good undertaking. And related to it would be a better analysis of our collections nationally. Yesterday, Susie Violetti's talk about the findings of the unique and distinct collections group. I think a lot of us in the room were surprised by some of the figures we saw with the different types of materials there. Getting those materials better known, I think, will be a very important thing for us to do. So a range of things, I think, around this theme of collections, but a union catalog could help catalyze a lot of that work, I think.
We got a couple of things rolled into this as well, as is the fashion, it seems. But I think first and foremost, more effective advocacy, strong visibility and influence achieved, through a joined-up approach. And I'm a believer in position papers. I've seen that phrase in the strategy. So I think we need to put an effort into that. And then I think also I'd love to see more of us actively engaged. I try and set an example by volunteering, at least for the strategy implementation group in public. So at least try to offer a little bit of good example. So, where's my fee?
Brilliant, thanks, John. Helen.
Thanks. So I would do two things. Firstly, a pilot proof of concept around some collaborative collection management. I think it's when, if you look at the UKRR, UK Research Reserve, or if you look at those collaborative models in the States, so you look at CONUL, it's when you actually start trying to do something and sharing resources and sharing people and collections, that then all the pieces of the union catalogue and so on, it actually starts to happen, and you have a practical proof of concept. So within a year, I think that's that one. And the other is around the influencing and the position papers. So, yesterday during the sessions, I was finishing off some position papers for Trinity for government. I know you are, Sandra, you have to leave us because you're going to Culture 2025. Having that influencing.
Yeah, it's good. Chris.
Okay. Sort of backfired. The pressure's on me now, isn't it, to come up with something different? I think a couple of things from perspective of a bit of chairing the SIG. I'd like to have a SIG that is too big to meet in my office. That would be one thing. And I think over the course of the year, it would be great if we were in a position where we needed a sort of symposium, one-day symposium. Please do contact us. Thank you, John. I'll try and find the hardest action and give it to you. So that would be a key one for us. Echoing particularly Carol's comments, I think, on open access, we're in grave danger nationally of falling very, very significantly behind direct competitors, particularly in Europe. And I think that we need to be extremely confident. And I used the word provocative in the presentation. I'll use it again, provocative around that issue. There are challenges for us about how our infrastructure is set up at the moment, but I hope we'll be able to meet those as a group. And I guess finally, in terms just dwelling on the influence question, at the RL UK conference in the British Library, I think Helen was at it, a couple of other colleagues were at it, in March, there was a great presentation made by the Australian consortium, the Canadian consortium, ARL in the US and RL UK jointly as a panel like this. We weren't on that table. And that's where CONUL should be. Those are the comparator organisations. The Canadians, Australians, they're about 20 organisations. We're not actually that small, okay? And we need to stop thinking we're small because we're not. We're perfectly sized. And we need to be very confident on the international stage. And I would hope to be able to be in a position next year to be presenting an update on the work of the SIG, on the development of the strategy, but also having achieved a place at particular international tables where I think we naturally sit.
Thanks, Chris. I'm going to wrap up now. I'm going to add my own voice to that there as well. My what I would love to see this time next year is building on the amazing relationships and strengths in this room at this table. There's some very strong voices, really unique, special things that each of the libraries do. And if we bring that together, we're stronger together than separate. So I know there's a very important task now. Helen and Siobhan have an important task now. So I'll ask the directors to leave the stage, and thank you very much, everybody.
Thanks, Helen, and thanks very much, Sandra, for chairing that second session. Thanks to all the directors and to all of you for participating, and also thank you to our sponsors and demonstrators here today who have attended this session, and I would just remind you to please, if you haven't been to the various different tables outside, the exhibitors' tables, to do go and engage during the rest of today. But now it's my very pleasant task. I'm very much under orders here from Helen, who keeps me on the straight and narrow. But it's a very pleasant task now to present the CONUL conference bursary for a first-time presenter of poster. And the award this year goes to two colleagues from Queen's University Belfast, Mark Bennett and Lynn Galt, for their poster on open access. And I should tell you that if anybody in the room is still not 100% clear on open access, if there is any such person, that it's a really good, clear poster. And one of the publishers actually said to me that he thought it was a brilliant poster for its clarity and its explanation. So Lynn and Mark, would you please come forward, and we have some certificates for you. And there's one more task before we go to coffee. Could I call on Anne Mitchell, please, to come forward? Thanks, Anne.
Good morning, everyone. I'm delighted to be here on behalf of the ANLTC subcommittee of CONUL to announce the ANLTC Research Award. Some of you may be aware of this award, but for those of you who aren't, the main aim of it is to encourage you to engage in practitioner-based research, some reflection and innovation. So you might think of a research project that has relevance to yourself or your institution, but I think this year we will particularly welcome any proposals that relate to the just recently launched CONUL strategy. So you might be thinking of those and then make your proposal. So we will require the proposals to be in by the 30th of September. So you have plenty of time during the summer months now to be thinking about it. So you can then submit your proposal via your ANLTC representative by the 30th of September. Now, the award is open to librarians in all the CONUL libraries, and it is valued at €2,000. And that will help you to defray some of the costs, maybe in carrying out travel or visits or attending conferences. So we'll announce then the successful winner in late November, and we will look forward then to hearing about your research at some future CONUL conference, possibly in a year or two's time. Details of the award can also be picked up at the registration desk outside this morning. There's a flyer there, and of course there are full details also on the ANLTC pages of the CONUL website. So we look forward to being inundated with applications in late September. Thank you very much.